A new contract was signed for Jake Neighbours. Let's talk about it here on Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. It is Tuesday, October 22nd, and I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues. Today, Jake Neighbours signed a new contract. Then we were approaching a tough game tonight against the Winnipeg Jets. And who is under the radar as in a player that maybe we're not talking enough about? We do have a lot to get into on today's episode of Locked On Blues, but make sure to subscribe to the channel on YouTube here at Locked On Blues. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So the St. Louis Blues, they did something really cool today, and that was that they gave Jake Neighbours a 2-year extension. So this is from Doug Armstrong. Here's the thing. This is a very generic, what was said, what was not said. However, I do feel like for the sake of the podcast, I like to read you what I get sent from the Blues PR. That way you were updated and informed as much as anybody else is. So, being said, Neighbours was signed. He signed essentially. Why did I say that like that? He signed a 2-year contract extension worth an AAV of $3.7 million. So 3.7 million. Neighbours, obviously, he was drafted by the Blues in the first round in the 2020 NHL entry draft, 26 overall. They basically talked about all of his accomplishments and so on. The reason why I think it's really important for Jake Neighbours to stay here with the organization is for a simple reason. He is a part of our future. The Blues have developed him, and he's done a lot of good. I think for me, 2 years, fine. He is going to determine how much he makes in his next contract, right? Some people might say, oh, it was only 2 years. And I understand that 2 years may not seem like a lot of time, but this is a very pivotal time in Jake Neighbours' career, right? He's 22 years old. He is still very young, okay? However, in hockey at least, and I'm not saying that this makes him old. I'm not saying that in any single way, but by the time the contract is up, he's going to be about 24 years old, which is getting to that, okay, what kind of player are you? And players like that solidify themselves. So I do like that Jake Neighbours your contract extension, and I am excited about what the future will be. I think it's very easy to maybe kind of take it with a grain of salt. Oh, well, he should be playing better this season. This season just began. I see your comments. I can sometimes see the bit of frustration that people have. But I mean, in total, this contract is $7.5 million after the 2 years. That's a lot of money, right? I know in hockey, it may not be like the biggest contract we've ever seen, and that's okay. But I am, however, happy about this. I think this is a very good move for the organization and a good move for Jake Neighbours. It's a great signing. The price is great. And the value of the contract, honestly, is just phenomenal, right? I think that at the end of the day, it prevents the Edmonton Oilers from sending Jake an offer sheet, which was a concern I genuinely had heading into, what could be this next year's offseason. So I feel like that's kind of taken out of the way. And I know on social media, a bunch of you have even commented saying, oh, what's Edmonton going to do now? I think that it would have been too risky to have Jake as an RFA without this extension. I think other teams would have done something. I mean, clearly what Doug Armstrong did with the offer sheets with Holloway and Broberg, was something that kind of woke up maybe some other teams, some other GMs maybe. And it could have been a real possibility that the Blues could have got an offer sheeted back. And I just made up sheeted as an adjective, or not an adjective, as a verb. However, that was a genuine concern. But do you think Jake Neighbours deserved more than 2 years on this extension, or are you happy about it? Because if you think about it, with Holloway, Broberg, Jake, it's a bunch of these 2 year moves. I think with the Blues, right? And I can kind of see this because it just makes sense. They're not trying to set up Alexander Steen with these everlasting contracts, maybe of players that may or may not work out. I think if a player is going to work out and the player is living up to their contract and exceeding it, because that's obviously the goal is to exceed your contract, then yeah, I'm sure they're going to have no problem being able to extend on top of it, right? I just think that when you have a new general manager taking over in a few years, having players who sign these outrageous long-term contracts, it could really mess up what the plan and the direction of the team that they want to go in, because then the Blues would have no money to move around, right? I think with Jake Neighbours though, and I watch him develop, right? And I can't believe he's only 22 with how long I feel like he's been in this organization. But again, 2020 was quite a while ago. Um, you have seen him grow as a player, especially last season. I mean, his confidence on the ice has taken off. And even in the locker room, when he's talking about, how he felt like, his time is coming this season, and then all of a sudden he's scoring again. I think he's just a very self aware player, a player that is not only humble and self aware, but is driven and has that motivation. And, Drew Bannister talked about what makes an NHL player in during training camp. And he essentially said it's a player that's able to adapt and grow day by day. And while he was talking more about Zachary Bolduc, I think that could also apply to Jake Neighbours. I mean, his skating, his speed, his positioning on ice, especially in front of the net, you've seen that grow over the seasons. And not even just with the Blues, right? But just in his whole entire time with the WHL, just in general, he has just shown this improvement in his game. I think that maybe giving it to him now, I'm happy that they did, don't get me wrong. But I question, it is so early into the season, right? It's only October 22nd. Why now? Well, I don't know. But that was something that came to my mind. Is it because he's now playing the way that we expect him to play and it just made sense? I don't know. I don't know if there was agents involved. I don't know. But what I do know is that this was a good move, because I told you last season there was two players I would hate, 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 capital H, for the Blues to ever get away. Oh my gosh, if the Blues ever got rid of, I cannot speak. That have been Robert Thomas and Jake Neighbours. Those are my guys. Those are my core two. Everybody else has value and I appreciate them. However, they're non negotiable for me. So knowing that the Blues now have Jake for another couple of seasons makes me feel a lot better, and he's getting paid. So congratulations to Jake Neighbours. I really hope, though, that he exceeds expectations and is able to get back on the right track. I really do. And by the right track, I just mean continuing to play the way that he has been, because it's been better. All right, let's go talk about FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's fanduel.com. Listen, I love FanDuel. I told you that I used FanDuel this weekend during the game, and I ended up losing my parlay. However, it was cool that I could still use it. So let's go look ahead. You had the 5-1 because now Minnesota actually lost the game. Vikings at the 2-4 Los Angeles Rams. The Vikings, I think they're going to win. Okay, I do. Would I place a bet during the game? Probably, yeah. I mean, it's week 8. I feel good. But when it comes to the picks, though, just so you know, the Minnesota Vikings probably, I mean, they're probably going to go deep into the playoffs this year. Yeah, they're good. Yeah, essentially pick the Vikings. The Blues have a tough game tonight as they are facing the 5-0 Winnipeg Jets. This team 100% concerns me. It is the NHL Frozen Frenzy. What does that exactly mean? It means that all 32 teams play today. So you have a game beginning at 5, and then you have a game beginning at 10. It's going to be a long day and night of hockey. Well, a long night technically, but you already know. So here's the thing. Jordan Bennington will be in net tonight. Obviously, Joel Hofer, he had an incredible couple games that he played, and I think it was the right decision to play Hofer, especially in that game against the Canes. So yeah, you had him against the Islanders and Canes, and now Jordan Bennington is back in net. And again, Connor Hellebuck scares me. Okay, let's be for real. He scares me. He is the only goalie left in the NHL that's undefeated, right? And it just makes me very, very nervous. Um, I do not like it. However, it is no surprise. The Jets, I mean, yeah, like they've defeated the Blues 9 out of 11 times in the past matchups. So, I mean, like, that's cool. However, yeah. Okay, so yeah, so it's been kind of a struggle bus, but you know what? It is what it is. I just think that for St. Louis, they need to just continue to push, push, push. That's all they need to do. So, Nick Leddy, by the way, because I'm going to read to you the lineup, he is on IR. It just got announced literally like 5 minutes ago. Lower body injury. Do we know how much time he has? I have no idea. Kind of surprised that he was placed on IR, to be honest with you. But I do hope he is okay. So, anyways, I'm going to read to you the lineup because we have another player that is back. First line, it is Robert Thomas centering, then Brandon Saad, and then Jordan Kyrou. On the second line, it is Zach Balduke. Centering is Bushi, and then on the right, it is Jakey. Then on the third, it is Dylan Holloway. Centering Captain Braden Shen. On the right, Matthew Joseph. Then Alexander Texier is back. I promise I'm happy. My tone doesn't seem happy. I'm happy. Foxa, and then Kapanen. So no Nathan Walker tonight. And no Alexei Turchenko. Then on defense, on that first pair again, you have Ryan Suter and then Golden Pareko, Broberg, Folk, P.O., Kessel, and then obviously Benner and Net. Ryan Suter in the first pair again. Like, are you kidding me? I was really not expecting that whatsoever, but I guess here we are. Anyways, here's the thing. The Winnipeg Jets, I just want to talk about them. They beat the Penguins on Sunday 6-3, right? And the Jets were actually trailing 2-0 in the second period. And then they scored back to back to back to back goals. Yes, I said that correctly. Back to back to back to back goals to take the lead before heading into intermission. So they just kept on going and going. They lost a lot of players during the offseason. I'm gonna be honest, like Tyler Toffoli, Brendan Dillon. So yeah, they definitely lost some guys. However, there's one player that they have yet to get rid of who I don't like. And that is Mark Schifele. I mean, obviously, we all know how I feel about him. He leads the Jets in points with um 8 points, and then he has 5 goals. So yeah, he has recorded at least 1 point in the last 5 games that they played. So kind of like pulling a Broberg, right? Except that well, the Jets are undefeated and the Blues are not. So, anyways, cool thing today is the 2025 Blues Hall of Fame class will be announced tonight. So that's what's up. I mean, last year we had the obvious Hall of Famer, my boy Keith Kachuk. So look forward to that. The Blues also have allowed just 7 goals at home so far, which is the second least in the NHL among teams to have played in the last 3 home games. So there's been 20 teams. I cannot believe it because they literally got demolished by Minnesota and it was really embarrassing, like a goalie goal. However, they still have let in fewer goals than any of these other teams, which is kind of a shocker. Um, Philip Broberg's 6-game season opening point streak is now tied. So that's what's up. He's also now one of the 9 defensemen in the NHL history to start their tenure with a franchise recording at least 6-game point streak. Yeah, so the Blues have played 6 games, Jets 6, I mean Jets 5, but you know. Braden Shen has appeared in 170 consecutive games dating back to October 15th, 2022, which is the longest active streak by a Blue. And then Brandon Saad is one shy of his 500th career point. I think that's a really big accomplishment for Captain Braden Shen and for Brandon Saad. I mean, I know Saad has been kind of wanting to get that point because he is super close, but I can't say confidently against the Winnipeg Jets that this is going to happen. It might. I think it'd be a cool thing to happen. I just don't necessarily know. I also think too, and again, when you're playing a team in your division, it means more because of the standings and like it's still the same amount of points you get to 1 OT, but um I just feel like it has more value to it. So in my head, I'm kind of like, okay, well, if they lose tonight, they're going to be going on the road. So that's another thing that makes me nervous is the fact that I know the Blues are going to be going out on the road for their next couple games. I mean, they have the Maple Leafs on Thursday, the Canadiens on Saturday. Then they play the Senators on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, they play the Flyers. So it's all Canadian teams and then Philadelphia. And one of those games, your girl of Locked On Blues will be at talking to the players, which she loves to do. That might be me. Hi. So that's soon. But again, that type of road trip is really tough. I mean, to, it's just I don't know. The Maple Leafs, like I'm facing Craig Berube again. I'm gonna have to do a collab with Locked On Leafs so I can just vent about how I feel about the whole situation because it still bothers me. However, the Canadians, I think they can beat, and I think they can beat the Senators, the Flyers. They can beat, even though they did have a really good game last year where the Blues did win in a shootout. And that was pretty cool, honestly. But anyways, I am excited about tonight's game, but I know a lot of you don't feel confident about it. I see it in my comments, in my mentions, in my DMs. Hale, I don't think they're going to win. Well, I don't either. And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not. Like, this is my team that I'm a fan of. I just have to take the fan goggles off for 1 second and look at it for how it is. And I do think the Jets are a stronger team than the Blues, despite what I said heading into this season. But just watching the Jets, especially against the Penguin game, because I was watching some of that, like they just look speedy and good. And Oh my goodness. To come back like that too is just a testament. So we will see. Do I feel good? Never do, but it's okay. I want to talk to you about a player that I feel like is a bit underrated of a player that we have yet to kind of talk about because I feel like for whatever reason, he doesn't get the credit that he ever deserves. But, anyways, I want to talk to you about Indeed. If you need a hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million monthly global visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work and use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. I'm okay. I just had to sneeze, which kind of sounded a little funny. Um, One thing that I love about Indeed is that it is leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day. Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs. More visibility at Indeed.com/locked on. Just go to Indeed.com/locked on right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/locked on. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hire? You need Indeed. When it comes to the St. Louis Blues, I feel like there is a couple players that maybe don't get the recognition they deserve. Maybe because they're not as likable. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. However, I want to talk about somebody that leads the team in points, and that is Jordan Kyrou with his 2 goals and 4 assists. See, I'm a big Jordan Kyrou person. I'm a big fan of his, right? How everything went down last year, yeah. Was I ever mad at him? Absolutely. I did not like him then. But I grew to begin to really like his style of play more so than anything. And I just saw somebody that I kind of related to myself on the ice, right? He just does what he needs to do. And he's so passionate and excited about playing here in St. Louis. And I think that speaks volume. You know, I have a really difficult time trying to understand why he isn't maybe the most likable player that we have because I think he embodies everything that being a blue is and representing the blue note and just his play, his ability to make things happen. Yes, he does have a lot of turnovers. However, I am willing to look past that when he also does have a lot of good shots on goal, when he does set up nicely in front of the net to potentially take a rebound or a deflection. I can't hate on him for that. I can't hate on his speed. I can't hate on his, again, without the turnovers, his puck control without the turnovers, because it is quite nice when he is able to actually maneuver the puck around. But I think that he is underrated when it comes to the NHL in general. I think that put him on any other team, maybe he would get the recognition that he deserves. I feel like here in St. Louis, and again, it's not anyone's fault. And I'm curious about what you think. Do you feel like there was ever a target put on his back? Or maybe he just kind of got a bad rep for no reason, and even you don't know why. It's like, wait, why don't we appreciate Jordan Kyrou the way that we should? I feel like he kind of needed a reset button here, especially with what went down last season. And I feel like he's just been playing really good hockey and deserves to have that recognition. So again, let me know what you think because I am genuinely curious about this. Do you hold anything that happened last season over Jordan Kyrou's head? Or are you like, you know what? Things happen. He's a good player. I respect him. Let's move on. So that is my question for you today of anybody who is listening to Locked On Blues. I am excited about the game tonight. As I said, I don't see the Blues winning. However, I always want to be pleasantly surprised. So that is the main goal. Let's be surprised. Let's hope they pull off a win, and we shall see. I will talk to you hopefully on a victory Wednesday, but again, that's a big if. And I'm excited to watch some late night hockey. Well, just regular hockey for us, but hockey's hockey. All right, I'll talk to you later. And like always, let's go Blues.